T-ROH Show. Transmitting truth. One week at a time.
Welcome to the T-ROH Show. This is your host, Keith. We got Tony and Stu. Say hello, guys.
Good afternoon, folks.
Hello, everyone.
Alrighty, we got a lot to cover this week, believe it or not. First of all, I'd like to start out with a couple of things that happened on the National Assembly last night. There was a motion heard that formally condemned the $325 billion contract in with Saudi Arabia to sell them arms over the next 10 years. Folks, yes, we know the inner circle of Saudi Arabia deals with the cult and all that, and then the outer circle deals with Islam. But if you've got a bunch of people that are in Europe right now blowing themselves up and then basically at war with the West, you don't go and give them $325 billion in weapons. That's the dumbest thing to do. So you go over there and say, "Hey, we're gonna fight Islamic terrorism, and we're gonna do all these things," and then you turn around and give them write up a $325 billion contract selling them arms. Anybody see the weirdness in that?
It's to be used against who?
To use against the West.
Exactly. So who's going to end up dying? American troops. Shameful.
Yeah.
Shameful.
That's why it's formally condemned. That contract's a death contract for everybody on the American continent, not just here. It's on the American continent. So shameful, not a good thing to do. Was watching a video on Alex Jones, and I wanted to say something about Alex Jones. I think Alex Jones has been had. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think? I think he's been had. He's everything that this guy does, that he supports, seems to be doing the opposite of what Alex Jones himself personally wanted done. Have you all noticed that?
Yeah, I think perhaps the Trump administration approached him and cut a little financial deal with him.
Right. He's talking about his press passes with the White House and all that. And, they give him a little, here's your press pass, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Sell it to the people. However, Trump seems to be doing the opposite of what they said that was going to happen, and they said that what they're going to do in his campaign promises. So it just doesn't seem, it's just something just doesn't feel right there. It just sounds to me like, it feels like Alex Jones has been had. I can't really prove everything yet. It'll all come out in the wash in the end. But at any rate,
you just watch what they say, not necessarily. You watch what they do, not necessarily what they're saying.
Right, and he had a hard time really selling this thing on North Korea. I mean, he had a hard time selling this thing on Syria when they bombed Syria and all that. He just, you could tell he was struggling because I think he's struggling internally too. I think he feels like he's been had and is being lied to, and I believe he is to a certain extent, based on Albert Pike. Because if you listen to what Albert Pike talked about and what his plans were, that whole plan is actually coming to fruition right now. It's all being played out. We're watching it with the Luciferian side of things. So I honestly think, I don't think Alex Jones is, personally, I don't think he's a stooge. I think he's a pretty upright guy. I just think he's caught into something that he didn't expect. That's, but he did bring out this orb thing. Everybody was talking about the orb, where Trump was touching the orb. And there was some video afterwards that came out. He showed it this morning. And actually what that was a brain center of a massive surveillance computer system. And in the background, you could see all the surveillance officers and all that. And you could see the screens, and coming up on the screens were cameras that were hooked into the worldwide net, the internet, that could see into people's homes. They could look into through television sets and phones, and any type of speaker that you had in your house, they could actually get into and see through and listen and all this kind of stuff. And it was quite impressive. Let's put it that way. Impressive surveillance system that the Saudis have over there. And the internal Saudis, they're into this mysticism and orbs and magic and wizardry and summoning spirits and all that. Why the outer part of Saudi Arabia is all Islam. So they gave everybody the book. Here's the Quran. Y'all read the Quran, and y'all follow this while we go and do all this other stuff over here. While we have all the technology and all the comforts and all the information and the power and all that, and then we're just going to give you the Quran. You either live by this, or we're going to chop your head off, or we're going to cut your hand off if you steal something or whatever. That's how we're going to treat you.
Couldn't we make the same general statement about the United States? Don't they pretty much do the same thing?
The whole system is set up that way, where it was the same way in Iraq when Saddam Hussein, which a lot of people that listen to this program weren't even alive when Saddam Hussein was around in '89 in the first war. But Saddam Hussein, he had all the televisions and all the comforts and the palaces and everybody else lived in squalor. And that's how he operated. He had, he was telling everybody that we're Islam, Western TV's evil. We don't want, you watching Western TV and all this because of all the smut and the crap on it and everything else. But he had it in his own home. He had his own. He was able to do it. And he was able to remain technologically advanced over and above the people that he was ruling.
Going back to what Stu was saying about that the United States does the same, I mean, all you have to do is look at their black market script. On one side, it says, "In God we trust," and on the other side is all the Luciferian and Illuminati symbolism.
Right, exactly. And the Luciferian system is there, and it does operate the way it operates, but behind the scenes, And we have, there was another, bringing that up, there was another motion heard, and it was to classify the Luciferians as enemies of the country, and all caught further classified as committing high crime of treason for nefarious acts and crimes against humanity on behalf of a foreign principality within the overlay survey called a region. Now, you notice that all of a sudden, all these regions started coming in, and everybody's, nobody said a word. They talk about it on the weather every day. So they slowly introduce these kind of things to you. And the region is just an overlay survey, is all it is. And it's based on Luciferianism, according to the Luciferians. It's not like we're just making this up. They've actually said this. There was a man that was he was a Luciferian, and he went to the good side and started telling everybody what was going on. Of course, they removed the video. It was on YouTube, and it was a 9-minute video. And of course, they removed it after it started coming to light what was happening. But the way that they have this set up is the principalities are considered fallen angels. Now, this is their belief, folks. This is not, we're not just, this isn't our point of view. It's just what they're telling you. And they said that every region has a principality and or a evil spirit, per se, the fallen, that control that region. And they pray to them and all this other kind of stuff. And they channel spirits, the regional spirits, into these movie stars and all this other kind of stuff. So you got, the occult is alive and well. And the plan is to use Islam to take over the West, and once Islam has succeeded, then they say that Islam will bow down to their world leader, who is Luciferian itself. So that's what their plan is.
Yeah, and you can we can make reference. I wish I knew the episode, but one of the previous episodes we had the Albert Pike letter that we read and outlined that exact thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically what they want to do is they just want to pit humanity against each other, self-implode it, and then come in, with a new system that they want to introduce and get people to go along with it.
Right, because it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand why the movie stars themselves, okay, you call them movie stars, they're just icons, is all they are, and why they would be pushing for Islam. And they're not pushing for Islam at all. Just don't be fooled. They're not pushing for Islam at all. They're the ones pushing the Islamophobia thing, and we're not that kind of society and all this other stuff. But they're not pushing that. They're pushing for Luciferianism. That's the plan. So Islam comes in, they made a deal with the devil and they don't even know it, or most of them don't. So all the Muslims out there need to understand that your leaders made contracts with Luciferians to take over the West. You made a deal with the devil, and all of you are under contract with him. And that's what their whole plan, to get you to bow down to that. So you're sacrificing your own people to, like Manchester, to blow up things and all this and kill people. You're doing all these nefarious acts, Luciferian nefarious acts, and acts of terrorism. You're going right along with it.
So in a sense, Islam is being used as part of the puppet theater.
Exactly. And they're also being sacrificed. The Luciferians don't care about you guys, and you're going to lose a lot of people and a lot of death and all this other stuff because they don't care. You're just a tool to these folks. So yeah, we've got the is that the YouTube, John, video on Albert Pike, the one that you put out?
Yes, that's a ways off. Many videos.
Okay, it was the most informative one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put that video on down below on the YouTube channel so everybody can go watch it. It's like a, I don't know, 10, 13 minute or so. It's around in that range. And that lady goes through fine detail on what the plan is and all that. And once you read it or listen to it, you can hear it. I mean, you can see it going on. It's it's very clear what the plan is. And I would just look at the Muslim leaders in Islam and what the hell they're up to, because it's obvious that the Saudis are tricking Islam into thinking they're on their side, and they're not at all. The Saudi kings and all, they have nothing to do with that. They're in pure Luciferianism, folks, pure cultish things going around. Yeah, they wear the robes, they wear the hats and all that, but they're not what you think they are. So,
yeah, and I just to build on that idea, part of the imagery and the pageantry, isn't the Vatican kind of the same thing? They walk around conducting themselves a particular way, yet they dress in all these costumes to give a different type of front.
Exactly. For some reason, the inner court, based on the Moses law, okay, where he had the inner court and the outer court, is always different than the outer court. So they're saying, well, the inner part is the same as the out, because they give that appearance, and that's not what's really going on. It's not like this, the government of the United States of America. We're all just who we are. There's no inner outer thing. What you see is what you get. Is basically it. They're just normal folks, normal people that came together and did what they had the right to do. But this other thing, I don't understand why they get involved in this. Do you? It's just crazy. It's not like they get power out of it. The end is always their own destruction, because and this is why we're saying that they're enemies of humanity, is because notoriously, whether anybody believes it or not, okay, notoriously, according to the story, it shows the intent. And the intent would be that you're worshiping an angel that notoriously hates men and human beings. So that just shows the intent. Whether it's real or not doesn't matter. It's the intent that's behind that. So that's why the government of the United States of America says, look, we're just going to classify you guys as as an enemy, because your intent is to fight fellow human beings. So I never can understand why a human being or man or woman would condemn their own. That you're one. So what happened to you? So there's some twisty crap going on in their head, if you follow what I'm saying here. Because why would you condemn yourself like that?
Yeah, and you can even bring it down to a material level too. There's no rationalization for it other than money, and you pit army against army. There's a lot of money in war. Insurance policies for the soldiers, weapons development, on and on it goes. So,
right. So you've got. Okay, so now think about this contract. Okay, say the movie star contract. Take a look at that for a minute. Somebody goes in. I think Katy Perry even said she sold her soul to the devil. All these other guys did the same thing. Blah blah blah. And they signed the contract and everything else. So you sign the contract for money, power, and admiration from the very people that you're trying to destroy, or that you're an enemy against because you hate people. As a Luciferian, that kind of a little messed up contract there. That's a little twisted. So you got to have something wrong with you in the beginning to even make sense out of that kind of agreement. What you didn't go check it out with your family, because you're supposed to be against your family too, right? So why didn't you take the contract to your family and say, yeah, what they want me to do is they want me to get up here and sing and act, and I get your admiration, but the real goal is to destroy you, so that I don't get the admiration, the money, or the power anymore. That you're giving me to worship what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's just all, it's a twisted mess. I've never seen anything like it. People make sense out of the craziest things.
Indeed. I agree with you too. It is that whole idol worship thing. It's, a very bizarre behavior pattern from my perspective. I never really understood it. I understand where somebody gets wrapped into it. They're looking for a living and they want to be a star and they like the adulation and all that kind of stuff. And then the corruption element, it's got to start taking its toll on these folks. And yet most of them continue forward. And that's where they utterly lose me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, you got to understand how Luciferians think. And once you understand how they think, then it's easy to pick them out. It's easy to spot them in a second. Their thing is they don't necessarily want you. They don't look at it as a victory. Okay, if you're worshiping Luciferian doctrine and all that kind of thing. What they do is, of course, sneaky. Let's take Christmas, for instance, and I'm sure that everybody's going to attack us on this, but oh well. Now, Christmas is, you have a tree, and then you have a wreath out on the front door, okay? The wreath symbolizes a vagina, and the Christmas tree symbolizes a penis. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with Christianity.
I wonder what all that tinsel symbolizes.
Yeah. You will tell them, Tony. Go ahead.
I'll let them use their own imagination.
We can put it this way. It symbolizes ejaculation. That's all it is. Okay. And they have a fascination with genitals. I don't understand why. They get off on it. You have the Washington Monument. It's the biggest one there. That's supposed to be George Washington's penis. And everybody goes up into it, and you're supposed to be symbolized as the sperm coming out the top. Okay. But people go, oh, this is a Washington Monument. They have no idea what it is. And now every year, okay, people put this penis in their house and they decorate it. And then they put a vagina on their front door. And then they say, well, that's because of Jesus' birth. Okay, well, essentially, if you try to make sense out of that, you're saying that's you're worshiping fertility, basically. That's what it is. And that's the sex goddess Shiva in India. Okay, go look that up, and you'll see where that all came from. But the thing is they want you to not only they don't want you to outwardly, okay, say that you're for Luciferianism. What they want you to do is everyone puts presents under the tree. So they know, and this is why Christianity is just kind of going out the window, by the way, and why they're attacking it. You have to get on your knees to get under the tree to reach for the present, to give to your family. So what are you literally doing? You're on your knees before the penis. That's what you're doing. You're worshiping it. And that's the whole point of the whole ritual of December 25th, is to get everybody to worship Luciferianism, which worships genitals and fertility and all this other crazy crap that they tend to worship.
Well, what's interesting is, when you tell adults about this, one of their reactions is that they want to do it for the children because they want their children to have the same memories that they did growing up. But that's why we can't break that cycle, because people choose to hold on to something knowing its true meaning, but they disregard that, and they just put that aside knowing that it's not right.
Yeah, they know it. And folks, we're not trying to stop Christmas. If y'all want to, I don't care. I personally don't care what you do. It's your business. But I'm just saying that that's essentially how a Luciferian thinks. Like Halloween, dressing your children up, because the Luciferians are inherently cannibals. They're cannibalistic. They eat other people. So that's where Cain and Abel came from. That's the word cannibal. Cain and Abel, Cain and Abel. And that because Cain ate Abel, he just didn't murder him. He ate him. He wanted his soul, so he was jealous of him, so he ate him. And the dressing up of your children for Halloween is simply to disguise them that they're not children, so the Luciferians don't come and eat them. That's all it symbolizes. It's just a cultist crap is what they're doing. And that's what you're getting ready to deal with, whether this makes you feel comfortable or not, or uncomfortable. This is the kind of thinking that you're having to deal with. It's very confusing. You're going to have to focus on normal things that make the common sense. We get it on a lot of these. There's a lot of cult ritual in patriot movements. We have documents that say, well, if you do it with a red ink thumbprint, then that means something, because colors means. Get rid of that occultish crap, okay? It doesn't mean anything different whether it's blue, red, or anything else. It is what it is. If you sign the document, you sign the document. You don't have to put this ritual here and ritual there and documents. It's crazy. But if somebody tries to, what they do is they try to sell this thing to you like it has some kind of power and secret knowledge. And believe me, most of us here have been through all that. We've gone through a lot of those patriot groups and crazy thinking and we'll do this UCC this and that, but you have to do it this way. And if you didn't do it that way, then you were wrong, and it's your fault that it doesn't work. And essentially what you're looking at is occultism.
Yeah, because everything's the magic phrase. Everything's the magic handshake, the magic nod, the wink. Everything. That's how they sell this stuff.
Right. It's all pure magic. They're looking. What does it work? I get a lot of people. Does it work? What the hell does that mean? What's your definition of work? I don't get that.
Is there a magic form that takes care of everything all at once?
Yeah. We get a lot of that too. But it's your action and your what you do and what your convictions are. That's what means something. It's not knowing who you are. It's what you believe in, what your convictions are.
I think that's a great point a moment ago. Does it work? I mean, think about asking that question. Does it work? What are you doing, and what are you trying to accomplish? Does it work? It's usually related to law, right? Does it work? Does it set me free? Does it stop their Does it stop their machine? You know, no.
Well, you got to think of it from another point of view, okay? You have Luciferianism, and then you have Luciferians, they call themselves, okay? And those people, first of all, made a really messed up contract. So their mind isn't really working right. Their brains are a little bit, you know what I'm saying? There's something missing there.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. And they're oppressed. So what's their job? Their job is to get you under their contract of oppression. They're spreading the word of Luciferianism. Here, be oppressed. It's the greatest thing in the world. That's what they're saying. That's their good news. So if you don't meet them from a international law point of view or a law of nations point of view, then you're going to be just as messed up as they are. And there are a lot of desperate people out there. And believe me, folks, what we're doing right now, we're not going to bring it out just yet, but what we are doing right now is working on that issue. And we really believe that what we're about to accomplish will do one of two things. It will either create peace or it will create exposure, meaning exposing the truth to the rest of the world on what's really going on here. Okay, so that's coming up to be next week when we get there. But we'll announce that when it's done. However, what we would like to talk about also is one of the things that everybody's having trouble with is money. They're having issues with money. And the reason why you're having issues with money is because you're dealing with the Luciferian system that's designed that if you don't get on board, then you don't get any money. So it's called a law or a war of attrition. There's a war of attrition against you that is withholding work, basic needs, basic this, basic that, so you'll convert to something else. Once you convert, oh, hey, they're one of us, and now everything's there and all the pressure's off. That's called a war of attrition. And so that being said, you've got a document we came across the other day. It went into the Reign of the Heaven Society Post, and there's a guy out there saying, hey, you can go ahead and create debt and sign this and not sign that document. Oh, by the way, put American National on there. Well, that's not American National. That's not an American national process where you issue your own money orders and you issue your own debt instruments and all that kind of thing. And the very individual, which I don't even know what the hell the guy's name is, the individual that is pushing this kind of, magic and wizardry is saying that what the bankers do is fraud, yet he's doing it. So what did you say, John? 2 wrongs don't make a right? It's pretty much what he said the other day. So,
yep.
2 wrongs don't make a right.
2 wrongs don't ever make a right. You're correct.
And that's one of the traps of a Luciferian system. They break the law because, well, they're Luciferians. That's what they do. Just like a thief is a thief. He steals. That's what he does. And you can't expect him to do anything different. Then when you do it, they attack you, throw you in jail. Why? Because you're not Luciferian. You didn't bow down, and you didn't do the blood oath, and you didn't, kill the child and eat or drink the blood of a baby and all this other kind of crap. So you're not in the fold. So you can't say, well, they did it and they're evil, but then it makes it okay for you to do it. That's not what it's about. That's the trap. There's a couple of guys that I know went to prison for 20 years based on that trap, based on their anger, because they cashed a check that they knew came from that knew was a stolen check. And the FBI was the one that gave it to them. They set them up. They used their anger against them. And that happens all the time. It's a trap. So this guy comes in and he says, well, just put American National on it. Well, I think the American Nationals took exception to that and said, no, that's not has anything to do with our country. And he puts out this certificate that has called World Citizens of the Solar Monmatia, or whatever the hell they call this. Okay, so that's kind of a bait and switch, guys. They're saying it's American national money orders and secured negotiable transferable instrument, And it says here, meeting all requirements of UCC Article 3 and Article 4. Well, it doesn't. It just sounds good. And then they put world citizens of solar Manmatia on it. Well, if you're going to call yourself world citizens again, you might as well just go to the globalists and bow down to their God and all this other stuff and drink blood of children and blah, 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 blah. Okay, why are you doing what's this half-assed stuff? So in order to sell it, they got to say, well, it's American National. Well, American Nationals have nothing to do with this kind of junk. So that being said, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, they make the certificates look pretty, the wording looks impressive, but when you start reading the subject matter, it's like if somebody pulled it out of a prize out of a Cracker Jack box.
Pretty much. I saw that certificate. I just started laughing.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. This guy is trying to pull this off. And he's using, I think he came back and said that, we're not talking about the fraudulent money system and all that. Why are we not doing it? Well, he hasn't read anything.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah, you can tell he hasn't read a thing about what the Rain to Heaven Society does, what the government of the United States of America does, what Fraternal Order does, the things that is being done on a daily basis. We know that there's so much fraud in the currency system that we created a brand new currency system that's working and you can use it. That doesn't have all this mess going on in it. So, as everybody knows, it was placed on there, and this got a lot of hits, folks. I mean, this thing was going all over the country, which was the Articles of Association of 1774 that were amended and then published. They're amended by the Private Attorney Generals Across America Association. We asked them to do that. They did it and did a fine, excellent job, by the way. Incredible work that these guys did. And that formed or reformed the original Union of 1774, the one that started from, or when the cutoff part was when they went from colonies to states. And then they formed that union. And it was an association. And so that was brought forward to the present time. It needed to go forward. It was the main instrument that caused the perpetual war, which helped the Luciferians advance to where they are today. So that being said, that union has been reformed into a peaceful union. It's a very, very well-written document. You can find it on the Reign in the Heavens Society post. Go to reinintoheavens.com, look it up, read it. Well written, well done. Now, what that does is within that union, you can create many unions in different departments of the union. And meaning, if you go to USC Chamber of Commerce.international, read the terms and conditions. Make sure you read those and understand what you're doing. That when you fill out the front form, you've joined the union. One is called the Currency Union. Another, within that website, we have the International Truck Operators Association, which is turned into and will be turned into a union under those same Articles of Association. Now, people will come back and say, well, unions are communism and all this other stuff. Well, we're not communists, so it's not a communist union. The only thing that makes unions communist are communists. They come in because they know unions are powerful and they corrupt them. Well, since we're not communists, that's not going to happen. The Articles of Association of 1774, as amended May 15th, I believe, 2017, since that that is the articles upon which govern the unions within the Union of States. Now, we call it the Union of States. Really, what happened was, since the original several states were abandoned, and we're going to prove right now why they were abandoned. Okay, I'm going to tell you here just a few seconds why they were abandoned and why we say that. Another union was formed, and it was formed by the Luciferian powers, and it all dealt with money. So what happened is that the Bank of New York Mellon formed a separate, what they call currency union, just like they formed the EU. That's a European union using the same money. That's called a currency union. There's a couple of forms of currency unions. I won't get into all that because it is in the terms and conditions at USC Chamber of Commerce.international. USC Chamber of Commerce.international. It's in the terms and conditions. You can read it at the bottom. A lot of them are, the unions are formed where everybody's using the same currency, which is how the EU's been done. The EU is just dealing in a currency union, not dealing with anything else. And they went a little further with a monetary union, where they all share the same monetary policies. Okay, and the same thing happened in the country here, where all 50 states joined a completely separate currency union. That's why they're all using the US dollar. That's why everything's so confusing. You're using a US dollar that belongs to a currency union to a foreign country, which is Manhattan Island, that is controlled by the monarchs. So when you join that currency union, you're falling under the currency, policies. That's called a Luciferian system. Rather than a real currency union is the government of the United States of America. If they have a currency union with Spain, then what happens is both governments agree to exchange each other's currency back and forth. They peg it to each other, and the continental dollar is exchanged with the peseta, and vice versa. And the values are all set. It's the same with, that was what the original currency unions were. Before, you used to be able to exchange the continental dollar, the dollar, US dollar, which is Manhattan Island, with German marks. And I think at the time when I was exposed to that, it was $1 to 3.5 marks, 3.5 marks. That's a currency union. That's a real currency union. They twisted it into a currency union where you're going to be using the issuing authority's currency, and everybody uses the same currency, and they all have the same monetary policy. And now we've gone into communism, socialism, Luciferianism, where everything's the same. Let's get rid of all boundaries and borders. Let's get rid of all languages. Everybody speaks the same language, and all that whole rigmarole crap that they try to push. Been trying to do it for thousands of years. It's never worked in those thousands of years, but we're going to sit and watch them try to do it again, over and over and over. Hell is repetition, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So a real currency union has been formed, where if a representative of Bitcoin joins this union, then Bitcoin agrees to accept the continental dollar, and the continental dollar folks agree to accept Bitcoin. That's it. That's all it is. You have Ithaca hours. If a representative of Ithaca hours opens an account over at USC Chamber of Commerce.international, then they agree to accept continental dollars, and we agree to accept Ithaca hours under the Articles of Association of 1774 as amended, 2017. That's all this is. You can do this, say a hospital comes in, joins the union. They agree to accept continental dollars. We agree to accept their services. That's money too. Services are money. Same difference. They can even start a medical union if they want to. There's a thing on the left called groups. You just go in there, start your group, name the group of the union that you want to start, and boom, it's there. Members that can come in, they see which union, they go into groups, and they can see which union they want to join based on their expertise. It's really very simple thing to do. And that's all it takes. It takes people coming together that have talent to offer services for a medium of exchange. There, you can do barter. You can start a barter union if you want. And guess what? Luciferians cannot stop you because they're in a union. That's how they started. And every lawsuit's a potential new client or somebody coming into a new union or this union here. They can't stop that. It's not illegal to form a union. So really all it takes is people to wake up and realize that there is in existence things that make sense. A platform has been created. You can go on. If you want to get Continental dollars, you join that union. You can open up an account in the Continental Public Bank, and you can earn them every day. You can earn Continental dollars just by showing up to the bank every day, by logging in. When you open the account, you get $100. You can cash those in if you want. The digital currency, you can cash that in for cash in the mail. Not a problem. It's very simple and easy to do. So in order to join this union, we go back to your original union, by the way, because when the states abandoned it, the several states, it reverted back to the people based on chain of title. So it's a union of people, again, where it started. And you go in and you just fill out the form, first name, last name, I think it's username and everything. You put your birth date there. If you don't want to put your birth date, nobody cares. As long as you're over 18, we're good to go. Because I know how paranoid people are. Do the CAPTCHA, press register, and you're done. You're part of the union. We're going to put in the National Great Registry a list of the companies and everything that have joined the union, if you'd like us to do that. There's some advertising there. And also in the program itself on the right, we can put advertisements of your companies. We can put your logo in there and say, hey, they're part of the union. The original union of this country. Not this Luciferian union that was created. There's a reason why you have the Illuminati symbol in the back of the dollar bill, folks. That's called a union. It's a part of a union. And I think Illuminati's, I think they're Luciferians. So what do you guys say? They're Luciferians. Well known for that. So at any rate, that's all I've got for today. Anybody else? Is there anything that we haven't covered?
No, that was a lot of information.
I think that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to the T-ROH Show. If you want to know more, go to uscchamberofcommerce.international. Spell it out, international. And if you're getting blocked, go to a different, what do you call those? Don't use Google, you know.
A different web browser.
Thank you. Go to a different web browser because a lot of our websites are blocked. Google blocks a lot of them. There are a lot of DOS attacks on these, especially on the T-ROH Show. We got some DOS attacks on that, believe it or not. Denial of service attacks. What that is that it's a fictional thing that's created on the net where it shows a lot of traffic, where it uses up all your resources, and now the website can't be opened. If you didn't know what a denial of service attacks are. That happens a lot when you're dealing with Luciferians. They do sneaky things, and they're basically cowardly because I want to tell you why. It's not because individually they're cowards. It's because they're afraid to die because they know where they're going for doing what they were doing.
Yeah, they're afraid it's time to pay up.
That's right. They want to stay here as long as they can. That's why they're doing all the mechanical crap and all these things. That's why I think it was Rockefeller, who ended up dying, by the way, had a heart transplant. He had 3 or 4 heart transplants. He was 100 years old. And
yes, sir. That was Rockefeller. 101. He had 7. He had just gotten his 7th. Perhaps you can look it up for sure, but perhaps like a year, 18 months prior to his announced death. Announced death, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we all know where that guy went. Okay. It's inevitable. You're all going to die. It just depends on how bad you want this earth over yourself. That's really what it comes down to. But, you know, you're going to have the DOS. So if you wonder what works, yeah, we know what works. Expect Luciferians to do everything they can do to stop you. That's what works. The expectation is what works. You know what they're going to do. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're going to cheat. They're going to misrepresent. They're going to commit fraud. They're going to do all kinds of things because it doesn't hold water and it's not fundamentally sound. So they have to cut corners.
And you got to understand, to accept that kind of a deal that they have accepted, you got to have something off in your head anyways. A little bit off. And those are the same people that want to do psychological evaluations towards everyone else. Well, that's called self-projection. They're projecting their craziness on you. So if you want to get out of that and go to where things make sense and your brain is working right and you're able to decipher and identify things and deal with people that basically have their head on straight, join the currency union, join the other unions in there, join the original union on the USC Chamber of Commerce.international.
It's time to get off the fence.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Now, you don't have to. Okay, I did want to bring this up before we go. You don't have to do a resident declaration or claim a nationality or take an oath and affirmation to join that union. You don't have to. We're going to tell you why. The USC Chamber of Commerce.international and the original union is based on one thing. It's based on products, trade, commerce. That's all it is. When you go into the store or a store and you go buy a pair of pants or you go buy whatever you're going to buy, you don't care if the store is, number one, you don't care if it's Luciferian. Number two, you don't care what the political status is of anybody in the store. Number three, you don't care what the cashier says, does, or anything else. Your interest is to getting the pants and go home because that's what you need. That's all you're thinking about. You don't care what their religion is. You don't care what their political views are, their philosophies, anything. You're going in to get a pair of pants. The pair of pants is what you're worried about. Now, why you're not making your own, that's a whole different story. But the very simple fact is you go in there for the convenience that somebody else makes something, you go and buy it. That's it. That's what you're doing. That's the USC Chamber of Commerce and the union within it, being administered by it. It's not within it, I'm sorry. Being administered by the USC Chamber of Commerce. Administration basically settle disputes and make sure the website's up. That's about the basics of the administration. The union is what it is. So it's pure commerce, business, that's it. Personal feelings, all that other stuff goes out the window. It's about commerce and about trade and getting this country back on track. Because a $325 billion contract to send weapons to people that are trying to kill you, not good business. That's a bad deal. It's a bad deal for everyone. Thank you for listening to the T-ROH Show. We do appreciate all the new subscriptions. We get a lot of subscribers, and we get a lot of listeners, and we do appreciate it. Believe me, it does not go unnoticed. Y'all want to say anything before we go?
Enjoy your afternoon, folks.
Goodbye, everyone.